Amy McTague goes by many titles such as wife, daughter, mom, Omi, and taxidermist. She's a pretty good taxidermist, but that was not always the case. Her story is one of faith, determination, and resolve, and it is beyond inspiring. Have you ever dreamed of doing something big with your life but couldn't bring yourself to make a move? If so, this episode is one you need to listen to. Are you ready? Episode 8 of the Fit to Hunt podcast, powered by Wilderness Athlete, starts now. Amy, how are you doing tonight?
We are doing awesome here in Oklahoma. How
Yeah?
are you? Yes.
Is the weather milder in Oklahoma?
Right now, yes. The storms came through just a little bit in southern Oklahoma, and it feels wonderful right now. That's why
So
we're
there's
sitting
almost
outside.
there's almost no humidity here right now. So like literally where a few days ago it might have said 97, but it felt like 106. I mean, now it's pleasant. So if we can just keep that, I'd be okay with it. So
Yeah. I think
busy
next week
day.
will be really nice.
Next, I get it. Yeah, busy day in the shop.
Yes.
So like,
Yes.
I was thinking about this earlier. You've got birds and deer and elk and all kinds of critters. How do you decide what you're going to work on a day in, day out basis?
Good question. It really comes with the list that I have. I mean, it comes in first come, first serve. That's pretty much how it comes in, unless I get I mean, in all honesty, I messed up a little bit with my deer this year just because I didn't identify a certain freezer as like my first batch of ones. And so therefore it just kind of got all messed up. But other than that, it with what I have, it's like I try to get my deer all done, which I have like 5 left for the season right now before season starts. Um, so once I get a deer mounted, it's wet for a week to 10 days. And so therefore you have a waiting period. And so I mesh some other animals in there about that time. Either I'll do my deer or not my deer, my birds. I'll do some fish, just kind of push them in there and get them done as I go. And then before long, those 7 to 10 days are done. And then I go back and finish up the deer. And then I go back to the birds and then I just do it all over again.
So do you have a whiteboard of things that you're kind of working off of, or is it all right here?
It's all in my brain, but I also have a 3-ring binder that I go off religiously.
That's your Bible. All right. So I think when I ask someone, how long have you been doing taxidermy? I'll hear people say 20 years, 30 years. You're a pretty good taxidermist, but you haven't been doing it for 30 years. That your story is fascinating. Like
Well, thank you.
we gotta get to the brass tacks of this here. So you decided you were gonna make a change and you made a change. I want to hear that story one more time.
That is a good story. It is one of my favorite stories to tell, among others. But this one particularly is, of course, it hits close to home because I'm living it every day. But being a dental hygienist, I was born and raised. Started in the dental field ever since age 14, and got my Bachelor of Science degree from Oklahoma School of Dentistry and worked as a dental hygienist for 20 plus years. And then I was a dental insurance salesman for a company that did dental still for the nursing home population. And that just was not the best match for me. I mean, I loved working with the elderly and the nursing home community. It just wasn't what I'm not a salesman when it comes to things like that. And that's exactly what this was particularly. And so fast forward, losing my grandparents and life in general, just being micromanaged with the company that I was with, I just fought depression and finally just got to the point where I was just absolutely miserable. And the only time that I really felt free was whenever I went out and hunted. My husband taught me how to hunt. Now, mind you, I didn't start learning how to hunt until 2017, and I did not harvest my first animal until 2019. So, I'd only been hunting for a couple of years, but I knew that that was where I was just myself, and I felt that's where God was whenever I was in the woods. And you couldn't take your phone with you. I mean, social media, you didn't post anything. I mean, you were there. It was just you and the woods and God. And that was, like I said, that was where I felt the best. And like I said, micromanaging with a company that was what all they were going through, and depression. Sought out counseling,
Mhm.
and my counselor, she was a fantastic woman. Um, I still to this day say she was an angel sent from God. Uh, the very first time that I walked in, she was like, "Oh, honey, this is." Yeah, she was just. I was like, "I'm not suicidal. I'm not. I'm just. I cannot get out of this funk. Cannot get out of it." And I said, "I am blessed. I know what I have." I said, "I just can't get out." Finally, after a few weeks, several weeks, she was like, "It's your job. It's your job that's killing you. If you could do anything that you wanted to do, what would you do?" And I immediately blurted out, taxidermy. She had her back to me at the time. And she turned around. She goes, "What did you just say?" And I said, "Taxidermy." And she goes, "Why in the world would you say that? You have not mentioned hunting. You have not mentioned anything." And I was like, "Well, I'm artsy fartsy. I love being in the outdoors. So you can mesh the two and it'd be perfect." And I told her what hunting does for me. And she goes, "Amy, you just lit up whenever you started talking about being out in the outdoors. You have to do this." And I was like, there's too many factors against it. Uh, the class, the income, the
Mhm.
money, the time, everything. I mean, at the time I had a sophomore in high school still.
Okay.
And I was trying, raising him. And I was like, this isn't, it's not the time. Anyways, she was like, "You gotta do it." I'm like, "Okay, yeah." Well, a couple of weeks, passed by. I'd see her, and all of a sudden, she messaged me out of the blue. "I cannot wait to see you." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot. My counselor can't wait to see me." And I was teasing her, and she goes, "No," she said, "I got a surprise for you." And I'm like, "Okay." So, anyways, that day that I went, she handed me this number, and she said, "You need to call this person." I was like, "Okay." So that was in June of 2021.
Okay.
And I reached out after a few weeks of contemplating it and just sitting on it and talking to my husband. And uh it just I reached out one day and I said, "Hey," I said, "I just want to inquire a little bit about the class, what's going on." I said, "I don't have really much time and I don't have much money. What can I do?"
Right.
And so I compromised. I was like, "Okay, I'll learn how much would just deer be?" And anyways, this lady and I spoke for about an hour on the phone, and it was a lady that taught me. And so she's like, "You know what? We'll do it this way." And she said, "If you can only do weekends, then I'll teach only on weekends." And she said, "But it's gonna be hard." And I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Let me see if I can do this." So I prayed about it. I talked to my husband, and he goes, "Let's make sure that we can do this all at one time. Let's figure this out." And so I made the decision August of 2021.
Okay.
I'd work my 50-hour plus week Monday through Friday, and then
So
I
you
would drive.
so you didn't quit to go to
No,
school.
no.
You were still doing what you were doing.
Yes, I had to. Yes. So I worked for this company Monday through Friday. That was my day job.
Okay.
And then I got up at 5:30 in the morning on Saturday and drove an hour and a half and went to school for 12 hours, and then I would drive back home. And did that again on Sunday, the whole month of August in 2021. I told everybody, my friends that knew and my family that knew and all my grandkids. I was like, okay, look, Omi's going to be out of pocket. There's no way that I can do anything else. It's going to be, this is all I can concentrate just to survive. And my best friend in September, she was like, Amy, when are you going to quit? When are you going to do this? Of course I was antsy. I was ready and I was just excited about everything. I was like, I don't know. I said, I just need to have 15. If I can get 15, this was the funny part. If I can get 15 by January 1,
Uh-huh.
then I know I can make it. That was Amy's goal. And so
15 deer?
15 deer, 15 deer,
15 deer.
because deer
Okay.
season was starting here in Oklahoma, October
Right.
1. And so I was like, if I could just get 15 deer, no one knew my name. No one knew
Right.
who I was. I had nothing, nothing. And so I was working on my son's deer, and I had a couple others that had been, like saying, hey, you want to practice? Yeah, well, I'll practice.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what I did in September. And my best friend was like, God's never going to give you a black and white answer. And I was like, I know that. I realize that. I was like, but I said, I know I can feel like 15 is good, and and January 1, that's when it'll be okay. And she goes, okay. God had a different plan, because on September 29th, I got an email, which that's how I got my devotions in the morning. And it was
Okay.
early on a morning, September 29th. And that devotion said, today you resigned from your job. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And I called my husband and I was like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I want to do. He goes, okay, let's, okay. Of course he was scared just like I was.
Sure.
And I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Right.
October 1. And so I had 2 weeks to, I gave the company 2 weeks notice.
Mm-hmm.
I hit social media like crazy saying, hey, I'm going to be open. This is Amy, Primetime Taxidermy here,
Right.
in Oklahoma. And I'll be available to take deer. Little did I know God had so much more in plan for me than what I did. Amy's goal was 15.
Mm-hmm.
Season started. I jumped in there. I got 55 deer
Oh my gosh.
by the end of Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh.
So, needless to say, he blew my little 15 number right out of the water.
That's like your
And
manna from heaven. Like, you trust and it just fell, right? I mean, that
oh,
is
it,
that
it
is so
was. It
incredible.
was a
Yeah.
trust. It was trust. It was faith. That's exactly
Right.
what he wants us to do. And that is exactly what I did. And I have done that a lot.
Right.
I tell people when I get an animal request, as far as, have you done this animal? No,
Mm-hmm.
no. I have done that many times, and they're like, okay, good. We'll be the first one. You got this. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you got that confidence
I'm
in
glad you
me.
got it. Right.
But so yeah, that was whenever I started, October 14th of 2021.
2021. Okay.
So we're coming up on the anniversary once deer season starts of, will it be my fourth season?
Yeah.
Fourth?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that first season, excuse me, a little social media, right? And just
Oh,
word
that's
of
all.
mouth and
Yeah.
word of mouth around the area right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Fantastic friends that just shared away and helped
uh-huh,
me build. Yeah.
which is how it should be, right? I mean, people know, but like you did this at a time in your life where that doesn't make sense. You're going to give up your insurance and your 401k and the stability, but what you got in return, maybe a little more freedom, maybe a little more control of your days, what you get to do with your grandkids. I mean, it's when you first told me that story, I've forgotten some elements of it since the last time that we initially went over that. Um, what boggled my mind is the 50 hours a week, the 6 hours of driving, and the 12 hours of 3 hours of driving and the 12 hours of classes. So, on the weekends you were getting very little sleep. There was not a whole lot of recovery time on that. But and the resolve of that, I don't know too many people that would last a weekend or out. So that's incredible. Um, You and I started talking, I guess maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago. We talk a lot about how all of these things intertwine as far as your spiritual wellness, your physical wellness, your financial wellness, and whatnot. And I mean, we're very transparent about sometimes it works really well, sometimes it doesn't work very well. So, like in the last year, what have you learned in terms of how you layer in the exercise or nutrition with the family, with the business? Because that you can get out of whack real easy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, as far as the freedom, yes, 100% freedom. That's what I've got. I am to blame for anything and everything. And, but, I do have to take care of myself. I do have to be eating healthy. I'm not a young chick anymore. So therefore I have a lot of things that I have to monitor. My strength, I have to keep at my core strength, my arm strength in order to
Hmm.
wrestle the animals that are in the shop. But, you know, it's it's a healthy balance of everything.
Hmm.
I think that's what I would say.
So, like at times when things get out of balance, how do you pull yourself kind of back to the middle? Is that something that's fairly intuitive? Is it something that you kind of go through it for a little bit, kind of like what you were feeling when you were in that dental hygienist role or that sales role? If something don't feel right, how do you center?
I go to the woods.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I do. I go to the woods. I can find myself, and I know that sounds silly to some people that don't understand that, but I can find myself whenever I get
Hmm.
centered. Once I get centered, I can figure out. Once I quiet my brain, once I quiet the stuff that is coming at me, then I can start seeing exactly what steps I need to take in order to correct it.
Right.
So,
In terms of being that solopreneur too, and I get it because I feel the same pressures. Like you said, it's yours to succeed. It's yours to mess up. When the alarm goes off at 4:30, like it did this morning, and I'll admit, I laid there until it said 4:31. I was like, man, this feels good. But then I told myself, if I don't get up, then these things that are critical, including, trying to prepare for our conversation tonight,
yeah.
aren't going to happen. So I love the aspects of the freedom, but then there's also a tremendous amount of responsibility, personal responsibility that comes from doing these things successfully.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
I mean, it some days it's super hard because there is a lot that has to be done. I mean, it goes back to the same question that you mentioned as far as how do I know what I'm going to be doing?
Hmm.
I have to lay out so many animals that to thaw in order to get them to a certain point. Well, let's just say they don't get them to that certain point. Well, then I've
Right.
got to fill up that space. Okay, well, where am I going to go now? Okay, that the ears are still frozen. I can't do that right now. I've got to do something else. Okay, what can I do to progress without regressing in everything in the shop? Because everything,
Right.
if I put together everything in 1 week, there's nothing that's going to go out, and so you have to have the start and the ending of everything has to be continuous.
Gotcha. So when you are in I'll just say your flow or your zone, and everything is humming, whether it's your Bible study, your exercise, your family time, how how do you structure your day? I mean, I think I know what you do, but like for our listeners here, I mean, you get up and get after it. So walk me through what that day looks like for you.
Normal healthy day right now, of course, the injury that I'm
Right.
kind of babying along, and standing on my feet all day long is not helping me.
Mhm.
But it is what it is, and so we're just fighting through it. Yeah, the alarm goes off at 5:45. I get up and I do my coffee with my chickens and my devotion, and I'll do that for a while. And
Right.
then I'll do some exercises, strength training with the plans that you've sent to me. Um, and then I usually try to right now lately been going to the woods.
Okay.
for about an hour, hour and a half, just to check on things, just to make sure things are going okay.
Sure.
And then I'll get back to the shop about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I'll start, and it'll be nonstop until I get to a stopping point. Sometimes it's 5, 6, sometimes it's 8. My husband will cook supper for me whenever he comes in, so he helps me with
Right.
that.
Are
But
you pretty good? Are you pretty good about Monday through Friday? I mean, are you doing taxidermy work on the weekends, or do you save that more for family
sometimes
time? Sometimes.
no, sometimes it just depends. This Saturday, I don't know if I have plans for that just because there's a lot of other things that are going on.
Uh-huh.
Sunday, I try not to go into the shop at all.
Sure.
Um, but it all just depends upon what is going to be coming to play. Because,
Right.
like I said, in my life, in Amy's world,
Mhm.
my year is ending because when season starts for me,
Mhm.
that's when my new year starts. And I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that makes sense to me.
Sure.
So that's why I've been doing it.
Sure.
Um, so I'm trying to get out as much as possible right now. Like I said, we're down to just a few deer left, and then I've got other animals that are going to be, taking over and
Mhm.
filling up the walls and doing some stuff. But fish, I could do fish every day if I had them.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my favorite.
Fish are your favorite. What's your
Yeah.
least favorite?
Hmm.
Hmm.
If that was one of the questions you sent me, I didn't think about it.
No. That's
Uh,
that's off the cuff.
oh wait,
Yeah.
no, I know it'd be a coyote or an antelope.
Really?
Yeah,
Why antelope?
they stink.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The coyote and the antelope, both of them will get me.
Right?
Yep. It don't matter how much mentholatum I have or
It's
anything
got
like
you.
that. It will cause me to get sick.
So when you walk into the house and the husband's there at the end of the day, do you have to like go put on some perfume or something for being out in that all day long? Because I've been around some taxidermists before, then I'm just like,
No,
wow.
I honestly, even during season, um, I try to keep my shop very clean. I try to
Right.
keep it, I mean, it presentable to where it doesn't matter what age is going to come
Uh-huh.
in. I mean, I try to pretend and try to think of it as like if my grandkids were coming or if,
Sure.
so if someone super important was coming, not
Hmm.
just anybody, just I try to make it to where it's presentable no matter what. Now, I don't promise there not be dead animals around the bot,
Fair enough.
door, but that's
Right.
that's the shop. But no, I usually try not to. I try not to stink. I mean, just
Well,
the shop does not stink. The
he
only
he will
time that I
appreciate
can
that.
say that it was that bad was a coyote and usually the antelope. But
Right.
the thing is, it penetrates your nose hairs and you just can't
Uh-huh.
get rid of it no
You
matter
can't
what.
get rid of it.
No,
How many how many grandkids we got now?
we have 5.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So is the danger when they all start hunting that Omi has to do something for each one of them? No? Okay. All right. That's
No.
a lot of promising right there. So
Nope.
but
Because
answer me this one.
whatever they want, if they want
Uh-huh.
an animal mounted, we're gonna get it mounted and they're gonna help
Right.
me.
Fair enough. We're going to hey, we've talked before about training your successors. There you go. You could have
Yep.
an army of these kids in there. All right.
My oldest one particular, she's really interested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So answer this question. I think anyone that's listening to this, I think many of us have had the desire to say, I'm going to quit and go do this or whatnot. So if someone's listening to this right now and and is thinking, man, I want to go be whatever, what would you tell them?
Ooh. I would tell them to I'd say go for it.
Yeah,
Everyone has a different race. God made everyone's plans totally different than the Joe's next door neighbors.
sure,
You know what I'm saying? Is
sure.
did I ever think that this was going to be Amy's plan? Oh, good gosh, no. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that that would be my plan. Ever. I never even thought that I'd be hunting. And here I am hunting. loving it,
By
harvesting.
yourself too. You've taken
I
some
love it.
animals on your, yeah, absolutely. You're not
Yeah.
being guided. You're doing it.
Yes. Yes.
That reel was awesome, by the way. That's my favorite, I think, so far.
Well,
Yeah,
I like after this, I'm gonna go hog hunt.
yeah,
Now, I'm not successful half the time, but
right.
I go out there
That's fun. That's
and I
fun.
mess up and I learn and I figure out how to do it next time. But I keep
So,
trying.
well, absolutely. So before I cut you loose here, all right, let's tell the listeners so we hopefully save thousands of taxidermist headaches at the end of the day. What's the one tip that you would give a hunter in the field when they get the one they're going to bring into you? What's the one thing they need to be thinking about so that they have a higher quality mount, that they're not messing it up in the process? What would you want a
2
hunter to do?
things. Give at least half the cape, if not
Okay.
all the cape. Don't try to think that you're gonna do it yourself and cut it short. That's the
Right.
first thing. The other thing is don't drag your deer.
Really.
Do not drag it because as soon as you guys harvest the deer,
Mm-hmm.
it's decomposing.
Right.
And dragging it, it will pull all the hair out. So, if it's on a
That's good.
deer and get it on ice as possible, as quickly as oh, this is a good tip. If
Right.
you're out hunting and you are, like, maybe at a campsite or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
if you're just going for the day, take you some old water jugs or,
Okay.
like, a milk jug, empty that out or, clean it out and fill it with water, freeze it, give enough space to freeze.
Right. Right.
And so you're putting this into your ice chest to keep cold so
Right.
that whenever you put your deer and your animal in a bag and
Mm-hmm.
you can put that milk jug inside the core of your thing. And if you do not put a bag of ice because your bag of ice will melt and then it'll infuse with water.
Well, of course it will. That's genius. I've never actually thought of that before.
So that would be my number one tip.
So it
Freeze
doesn't get, yep. Okay.
jugs to
Yep.
where with water, and then you put that inside the animal, and it will keep it cold. Do
Well, there
not
you
put
go.
bags of ice.
I've been doing it wrong for a very long time. I apologize to all the taxidermists that I've gone to before. So I got to get a bird for you. I got to go shoot a
Yeah,
duck and send it down there. I'll have you do that for me.
I'll be waiting for it.
Awesome. Amy, thanks for your time. I know you're a busy lady. Appreciate it. Have a great
Hey, I
night.
appreciate you. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye.
Amy is one of my favorite people on the planet, and I think she would tell you herself she's far from perfect. But what she is really good at is working to strike a balance in the areas of her life that are important to her, such as faith, family, fitness, and the outdoors. You can follow Amy on Instagram at her primetime purpose, and you can also check her website out along with all of her taxidermy at primetimetaxidermy.com. Now, September is virtually here, and there's a few things that I want you to be thinking about. Number one, I care about your hunting snacks. Right now, Wilderness Athlete has their pack out bars and bites in stock, but they're not going to be there long. Now, I like tossing a few of these into my backpack along with a few packets of Hydrate and Recover because I don't like getting hungry in the field. And the longer that I can stay, the better my odds are at punching a tag. Now, number two, if you're not feeling ready for the hunt this fall, there's still time to train. I'd encourage you to check out our line of DIY hunt-specific workouts. They're affordable, easy to follow, flexible, and they'll get the job done. They're super effective. Well, that's it for this month's episode. Thanks so much for listening. And if you like what you're hearing on this podcast, please consider subscribing and sharing our show with your friends. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. And as always, stay fit to hunt.